Hopefully the shot's okay. This is a little close. This is maybe a little too uptight and personal. And I'm a little bit too public for my liking. People can see me, but I'm here and I'm alive. And I'm here to talk about a team that is somewhat hemorrhaging at the moment. That being said, I didn't think I would be making it this far in terms of making these videos. I thought I would give up after 3 episodes, but I've been going strong. The viewership, you guys have been supporting me a little bit more and more. So I'm really happy to make these videos now, and I look forward to it as part of my day. And I love talking about a franchise like this, a franchise that's gone through a lot of rebranding. I mean, you're always going to be relevant in a city that is one of the most popular cities to ever exist. But we're not doing the one team that you think we're talking about. We're doing the other team that you're thinking about, which is the number 2 team, the team that has always basked in the shadow of the success of the Los Angeles Lakers. We're talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. Going through a rebranding process as a team coming from that Donald Sterling era is a difficult thing to do. All of those players that were once around, those Chris Pauls, Blake Griffins, DeAndre Jordans, that led that era, which were good teams, don't get me wrong, are now gone. All those players are now gone. And so the team now is a completely different look and a completely different makeup. But they're one of the most talented and exciting to watch teams in the NBA when they're not injured. From top to bottom, this organization is in a very good place, probably the best place that they've ever been in their entire history. But the injuries still linger for Kawhi Leonard and company. And now I'm excited to go into this coaching segment. My coaching segment isn't actually going to be a ton of speculation, nor is it going to be a lot of criticism. I think Tyronn Lue proved himself to be one of the best coaches in the NBA. So let's take a trip down memory lane with each other and go back to those Cleveland Cavaliers days where Tyronn Lue seemed like he was just a piece in what was a puzzle that didn't really need him. But at the end of the day, when you look back now and you really think about how those teams operated, Tyronn Lue was really pulling some strings in order for them to win their championship and have the success that they did with those finals runs. He's not only a good player coach, but he's also good at running plays as well and ensuring that all players on a team are ready to step up whenever you need them. I mean, look, we'll get into it. The Clippers' run in the playoffs last year was just a spectacle to watch for NBA fans. I mean, seriously, what a underrated and amazing team, talented through and through. So that brings us to this season, though, where Kawhi Leonard fell down, hurt himself in the playoffs last year, and is unfortunately putting the team in a very difficult situation. They may be playoffless, but that's hard to say. It's entirely possible that they push for one of those low seeds, playing game area. Maybe Kawhi Leonard makes an appearance near the playoffs. It seems like he's going to be out an indefinite amount of time, and his camp doesn't say anything. We, as the public, are not keyed in, nor the media are keyed into how he's recovering, what's going on. He's walking around without a boot, but is he playing basketball? We don't know. We have no idea. So now the team has to go forward without him for an indefinite amount of time. It's a similar makeup to last year. They traded away Pat Beverly, but they didn't really need him ultimately. They re-signed Reggie Jackson, and they signed Terrence Mann to a 2-year contract, which is a great contract. So this next season, it seems like what their situation is going to be, where Paul George, who is a star in this league, he is a great player, where Paul George has to lead the team every single night, and then the rest of the roster is just role players. And if I'm being honest, you can go far in this league with just role players who understand the game of basketball very well. I would be incorrect in saying that this team can't be in a position higher than I think they will be. I think that it's just a matter of finding that consistency within those players that, are role players right now. Because players like Terrence Mann and Reggie Jackson are really good, but the thing that they struggle with the most is that consistency. So what's going into this season is, can Tyronn Lue get out of these players a nightly performance, which Reggie Jackson has showed in the past that he can be a night in, night out player, but not for a while. And he would go on hot streaks, but then go absolutely cold. So are they going to be competitive? Absolutely. But are they going to be really good and maybe match up well with youthful talent? Not so much so. I think that's where they're going to lack the most, and I could be wrong about this, but I think the pace next year is going to be their biggest issue, where they don't have enough defensive presence to ensure that players aren't running up and down the court scoring field goals. That's not to say that they don't have defensive talent on the team. I think that they do have a ton of defensive talent, but I think a lot of their success has to do with stopping the ball, which is why they found so much success in the playoffs last year, because it's a slower paced game. But during the regular season, it's going to be difficult for them to deal with fresh legs. They acquired some weird talent this offseason where they got Eric Bledsoe and Justice Winslow, which seems like backwards moves. But it's Tyronn Lue we're talking about here. He can turn careers that seem like they're in the absolute gutter and then make them seem like $15 million a year players. I mean, we look at Nick Batum, and Nick Batum was a player who was in basketball purgatory for a little bit there, and a player that nobody wanted to touch. But the LA Clippers, I'll backtrack a little bit and say that not a lot of teams were looking at this talent and saying, we need this a part of our team. But now, after the stint with the LA Clippers, it seems like he's a talent that every single team can use. Seriously. I mean, maybe not the Charlotte Hornets, but I think he is a sensational player who understands his role so well. Because half the drama when it comes to NBA teams is players not understanding the role completely. That aspect comes into all levels of basketball, where if you don't really know your role on a team and try and do that effectively, then your team as a whole isn't going to be successful. So when it comes to players doing more or less than what they're supposed to, it can cause issues between the team's cohesion. Whereas you have a player like Nick Batum who will approach a situation and just play it to his absolute best ability and play it how he's supposed to be playing it. That being said, it's going to be interesting to see where this less talented of a roster than they had last year, and we're not talking significantly less talented, but a little bit less talented of a roster than last year, is going to go this season. Do I think that they're going to build an offense that allows each player to execute pretty well? Absolutely. But do I think that they have enough talent to withstand a lot of other teams? Not at the moment. I think I'm hung up on the idea that this team is going to be less of a championship team if Kawhi Leonard comes back, but I don't think that's really the case. When you have Kawhi Leonard, he is just one of the best players on the planet, and he is like he's like Nick Batum on absolute steroids, on the best of steroids. He's like Nick Batum's god with an amazing jump shot and an amazing offensive game. I shouldn't even compare the two people. What I'm really getting stuck on at the end of the day is that I don't think Eric Bledsoe can be a championship winning point guard or whatever position that you play him, and that's probably one of their most risky moves that they made. But if he has 2 more years, I believe, left on his contract, a net equal move at the end of the day, I don't know. I think it will allow them to win a little bit more games, but it's going to be really hard for them to go into the actual future where Steve Ballmer is in that win now mentality, yet they have Eric Bledsoe as their starting point guard. I don't know. But their role players are really good. They got Zubac, they got Kennard, and I think that Tyronn Lue is really high on Luke Kennard. So I think that he's going to have an advanced role this season. And if he lives up to any sort of expectation that Tyronn Lue has of him, I think that the team will work out a little bit better. But in terms of complaints category, if I were an NBA team, I would give the keys to Tyronn Lue, and I would not look back. I really think he's one of the most effective and interesting coaches that the NBA has. And it's unique to see his trajectory as a player to coach to now, where he was entirely capable the whole entire time, yet nobody believed in him because they thought he was just some pawn for LeBron. So the LA Clippers are in a good spot right now, but when Kawhi Leonard gets back, they're going to be in a great spot. But is this the team to be the championship? I think that last year may have been their championship level team, where you have this sort of like the cancellations and the players that can make the shots always, who could have gone a little bit more competitive with the Bucks. Definitely think they actually could have beat the Phoenix Suns, especially it's just Kawhi Leonard. It's just Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is amazing. Amazing. He's one of the best talents that I've ever seen on a basketball floor, and all you need is a small sample size. Like, you don't even need to watch him for that long to know that that guy's the man. Not the Terrence Mann, but the man. So yeah, the Clippers are in a good spot, but not a great spot. So if I were a Clipper fan, I would say it's good, but not great. And you would hope that it gets better. And you would hope that there would be less injuries. And you would hope that the organization continues to make those moves that are inching their way up the ladder. Because this team is almost there. They're almost there. But they're not going to be there without their star player. That being said, let's go into player to... In these videos, I guess I've been going vanilla. I just go with media picks and, you know, what everybody's talking about. But at the end of the day, you have to be a more in-depth fan to know most of the names that I bring up. I mean, I think it's Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann is the player for all of us to watch, because when he had those playoff moments last year where he scored 39 in that game against Utah, to seal the deal. And when he showed talent that was like a simplified Kawhi Leonard, I think that people were really excited about him. And I think I am really excited for him, especially with the fact that he went from the second round, the 48th pick, to now what is a $11-12 million a year player, which is a huge jump for him. I mean, you couldn't be more happy for him as a person because he seems like an awesome human being. Enough about him as a human. Him as a basketball player, I think he has done everything correctly to improve himself. Tyronn Lue knows how to take advantage of these players and ensure that their trajectory is in front of them. But if it continues on this path of improvement, you'd have to think that he'd be a amazing player in a few more years. And if we can see that on a nightly basis this next season, there's no reason to think that he is going to be a big money player, a big money player. So I really hope that Terrence Mann continues to work on his game as he does and doesn't get too satisfied in the position that he is. But there's no way that he will be. I think that this is a hungry and intelligent player who knows he has the team support and knows he has the locker room's green light to shoot the ball as much as possible. Because honestly, he's going to make a lot of the shots. He's really, really good. I'm just going to go straight into the... I will probably say that this team will win 44 games next season. It's just hard to say that they will make the play-in game because 44 wins isn't enough, it seems, in the Western Conference to make that play-in game. But if they have Kawhi Leonard back midway through the season, let's just say probably a 50-win team right there.